Okay, are we on? Am I on finally? Okay, I am on. Let me open up the chat here. Whoop. Okay, welcome. So, you probably can't see. Hey, there's actually a mouse cursor for the game. So, hey everybody. Now I stopped playing this on my phone. I installed BlueStacks on my laptop. And now I'm playing Mega Man X DiVE on my PC, on my laptop. At 120 frames. So it reached like 100 a few times, but it's usually locked at 60. Now my controller now my controller is hooked up with a cable, so we're good to go. Let's do this. No lag. Connecting. Yeah. It works great on the computer, I must say. Shadow on. Put the shadow on. Okay, and I have the thingy on. Okay, I'm golden. Now let's give it a go. Even though this boss is OP, I know I can still do it. Let's do this. Oh, what the heck? Why is my... Hold on a second. What the crap? Okay, somehow the controller is not enabled in-game, built-in. Very strange. How come it's not working all of a sudden? Come on, it was working earlier. Why do all my streams broken? What? Hold on a second. It was working a second ago, jeez. Okay, disconnected. How come it's not working all of a sudden? Very strange. Hold on, let me reset it. Let me reset the app 1 second. What the heck? It was working perfectly fine. BlueStacks. Hold on. Here, now it's off. Good. Hopefully it's gonna stay off, this icon. Okay, good. This icon is off, so it means we should be good now. Dun. Why couldn't they release this game on consoles and that's it? Come on. Hey Blue Gaming. Hey At Hanagis. Hey Great Papios again. Hey Zelda Boy 49, glad you made it. Samuel, hello. Papyrus is being cringy, apparently. Okay, let's make sure everything works correctly this time. What was it there? What? Why is my controller all of a sudden not working? It was working fine earlier. What the heck, man? Like, what changed? Nothing changed, jeez. Why is it not working all of a sudden? That's so strange. I don't get it. Why is it like this? No. Hold on. What if I go to settings again? Why is it not working? It was working a second ago. I was actually playing the boss. I don't get it. Why is it not working all of a sudden? Jeez Louise, are you kidding me? Why is it not working all of a sudden? Hold on, let me... What the heck, man? It was working fine earlier. All I did was restart my computer. Jeez Louise. Okay, controller is connected. Okay. Try again. Game controls. Come on, game, walk. Jeez. Is that how to play the game? Pim, 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 pim. God dang it. Actually, the controller doesn't work all of a sudden. What's the deal? Like, my computer recognized it, but... Why is it like this? Like, my computer recognized it fine. It's not the issue here. Hold on. Settings. See, that option actually enable. Why not enable detection? Okay, let's see if it saves the settings this time. Hold on. I was all ready to go. Like, why is the game such a pain? Like, it's not the game, but... You know, here, see, gamepad connected. It recognized the gamepad. Okay, let's see. Let's see now. It was only that option, like specifically. Come on, let's play the game. Okay, please walk. Okay, it's not walking now. Now, what if I change it now? Use. Okay. Oh, here, finally, jeez, now it works. Thank goodness. Now we can play the game. We can finally play the game. Oh my goodness. I can make this smaller. I don't need this really. I guess this can be here. Make it even smaller. This one's also. Well, actually, let's do this. Make it like this. It's not really needed. Okay. Okay, I think this is good. Now let's remap it just in case. And dash. Save, return, and oh my god, we can finally play the game. Freaking crap. We can finally play the game. Okay, let's see if I can kick his butt, even though I'm way underpowered. Oh wait, I'm not full screen. Okay. Oh my god, I'm playing this on PC, it's awesome. It runs way smoother, and it's nice to see it on the big screen. Okay, let's do this. Let's finally play the game. What the heck? Are you kidding me? He just touched me and I died? What the heck was that? Jeez Louise. He just touched me and I died? I didn't know that. It's the first time the blue eye hits me. Jeez, he's so OP. Okay, never touch the eyes, because they kill you in one hit. Now it went a little bit less better, because I'm also live streaming, but we should be fine. Warning, warning. Oh wow, the mouth already. Wait, hold on. The freaking cable really messes me up here. Hold on. Okay, here. Get the cable out of the way. What? The mouth again? If I beat him, I'm like really breaking the game. Like seriously. Oh come on, how did he hit me? What the crap? Oh, there was some huge lag over there. Okay, it ain't perfect on PC yet, but still. Come on, come on. Oh, come on, I got it to the wrong side. Please don't lag in this part specifically. Oh, come on. That was so bad. Come on, I can make it. Oh, amazing. Oh, come on. Jeez, there's like such a short like space between. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give it like a go a few more times. At least I'm not suffering from major lag from the controller, like from the phone. We'll give it a go a few more times and then we're gonna go do all the other mods. I got to destroy one eye earlier. Oh come on, I wanted the other side. Oh jeez. Look, I'm barely doing any damage. Oh come on, why am I keep doing it way early? Oh, that's the better place. Because I can shoot him for longer. Come on, finish the X-Buster stuff. Oh, what the heck, man? I thought he's gonna stop there. That's where I was standing. Oh, jeez. I was doing so well. I was doing so well. You know what? Okay. Screw that boss. Hold on. Let's do other mods in the meanwhile. Maybe I can level myself up just a little bit more. Okay. Let's see what the game needs to give me. Okay, missions. The stuff in the missions too. 10 stories and stuff. Maybe I'll reach 1,000 and I can do the capsule. This is not so nice playing this on PC. You still get XP? Oh wow, you really get XP from daily missions. I just noticed. Okay, how about let's do the lab. Give me 80 more. Anything? They all suck. Oh, let's do this. Wait, researching? What do you mean? Why do I have 0 out of 2? How come it doesn't let me? The amount of researches has been expended. Doesn't this reset every day? Wait, if I reset every day? Wow. Just pay. I don't even have 500. Okay, let's do the free capsule we get for the day. Free capsule, yes. It sucks. Yeah, it's only out on the Asian market, on the East, like Thailand, I think Hong Kong, maybe Japan. You can just download the APK on your phone and then log in with Twitter or Facebook or whatever. Can I do this? No, I cannot. Wait, I think you also get the other one for free. No. This one. No, not this one. This one. That was lame. Okay, let's do some PvPs and stuff. No, you don't have to pre-register. You can just download the APK from a website and install it. Does he know I'm playing on PC? There's also everybody who's playing is like on the east, so on PvP the lag is so high. Like there's 300 milliseconds. That's tons. Oh, I'm slow. He made me so slow. Oh crap, he killed me. Hey, why is this off? Zero died. I'm adding all the friends. Everybody has friends, so they can send me batteries when I send them too. I wish I had the first armor. Wait, did he miss? Jeez, this is so laggy with them. We both died. I can't wait for it to be... Wow, it's like 500 milliseconds. I can't wait for this to be released worldwide so I can play with players with no lag. Or like minimum lag. Dang it, I wish I had the first armor. Wow, he's in the lead. I don't think I have a chance. Well, you didn't even hit him. Oh my god, I actually killed him! Wait, no. God dang it, he killed me first. Wow. Wait, draw. Never had a draw. Wait, no, I don't want to add him. He has a very high ping. Wow, that was super laggy. Oh yeah, I did forget to announce my stream on Discord. I had the message written in. Jeez, dude. Let's see how many people join from Discord. Hey, Super Saiyan Moses, thanks for joining. Let's hope you won't hit me. Oh wow. Oh wow. It's okay, I'm pretty much in the lead. Yeah, why do I have the... Oh wow. This is so laggy. It's ridiculous. Wow, 600 ping. 600. Well, I won. I know this stream is on my laptop, so there won't be any lag. I think the game runs better on Android, of course, like on my phone. but there's input lag for my controller, so it's like very hard to play. Okay, after this we'll do another mod. Hey Brian Young, this is Mega Man X DiVE. Hey Nightfish, hey Great Papios again. Hey Eitan Nikos. Yeah, on this screen it always lags. On my laptop at least. Yeah, we have the same characters. Oh, why did I jump? Dang it. Nah. He missed completely. Come on, he's almost dead. Okay, he died. Oh wait, he needs like one hit, one tiny hit. He's so dead. Hilarious. Wow, he's powerful. He's level 30. Wow. Okay, let's try another mod. What happened to the game? The game froze, I think. Hey, Super Saiyan Moses. Yeah, there's a boss rush mode. Yeah, I restarted the game. Okay, let's do co-op. Yo, let's do the boss. Wait, can I do the boss? Wait, no, what am I doing? Like, is there a new boss I can do? Here, that's the boss rush mode. To play him, I need to reach level 30. It's a pretty slow progression on this. Okay, wait, versus? What is it? Why does it have a point now? Oh, arena reward. Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, nice! I get this. The weekly too. Let's do the ranked match. These are different by that I need to choose 3 different players. So choose him, Zero, and X. I'll give them the same weapons. Oh, hey, Nightfish. Hey. Hey, Nightfish, you're playing Mega Man X DiVE? Yeah, just add me. It's Meti. Yeah, I write it in the chat. Meti X. Yeah, that's my username. We both died, I think. Oh, I survived. Oh, dang it. I did some damage. It's so laggy with all the Asian players. Jeez. Oh, come on. It's kind of like a tie. Oh, come on, he did it so late. Yeah, I'm dead. I'm so dead. That sucks. Jeez. Let's add him. 42. How did he get? He's level 28 and he's 42. He probably pays money for the game. Hey, Tristan Brown. Thanks for joining. Let's do another ranked match. Bam, bam, bam. Oh, I killed him. Oh, dang it. It's a tie. Oh, it's still kind of like a tie. Okay, now it's a tie. Oh crap, I used it too early. Ooh, that was a close one. Oh, what? That actually killed me? Dang it. Wow, it's getting pretty tough, to be honest. And the freaking lag, like 400 ping. It's ridiculous. I wish I had first armor X. The charger is awesome. What? How did he kill me? Jeez, it's too laggy. It's so hard to play like this. Where is he? He just disappeared. It's so laggy you can't even follow them. Oh, damn, I missed. Okay, it's a tie. Oh, hey, Nightfish, you found me? That's awesome. Add me. Add me, we'll play together. And where are you from? It's gonna be maybe less laggy. Where is he? Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. No, why am I doing this? That was such a mistake. I like literally had him. What the crap just hit me? Dang it. There's so much lag. Oh my god, it reached like 800 millisecond lag. Okay, screw this. I think I get less lag for on my phone. Maybe because of it's emulation of Android. Okay, let's do co-op then. Jeez. Oh, which ones do I have that's purple? Okay, co-op lag doesn't matter, so. Oh wait, after this I'll add you. Nightfish. I'll accept your invite. Your friend request. How do you get first armor? I want it too. What the heck, man? Oh, there's not even... The scope machines are pretty easy. There's not even a boss fight. Oh wait, on this one there was a boss fight. On the first one there wasn't. Oh, is it like 40, almost 50,000 power? And he's at level 26, how? He probably paid money. Dang, I want that charger so bad. I want the charger so bad, jeez. Let's add him. Hey, I did more damage than him. Hey Nightfish, bonjour, bonjour. Oh crap! I think it got stuck again. I can see the shade of the screen. Jeez, but sometimes it gets stuck when I get to the menu. Let me try changing the resolution and see maybe that makes it run a little bit faster with less lags. I wonder. Maybe didn't mess up the controller though. Mega Mix Dive. Let's see if I get better frame rates if it's on 720. Okay, the event were kinda meh. Wait, today challenges? Only here I have two. Just for the dive triggers though. Wait, how do you... Level 37, jeez. How many levels in this game? Let's skip it, because it's not really fun to be honest. How come there's 0 on these? Let's see. What do we have here? Ooh, got some XP and stuff. Ooh, I leveled up. Maybe something new will be unlocked. Need to level up another level. Whoa, that was like 80. That was quick. Slowly we'll reach 1,000 again. And do the capture. How much? 20, 20, 20. Oh, there's monthly too. Oh, I got a like a 1-up. The next one. Eh. Okay. Get some leveling. This one. Jeez. Okay, let's see. What else can we do besides the story? Okay. What gives me XP? Complete 10 story. Give AP. Oh yeah. I forgot about the friends. Here. Let's see. Weeds. What the crap? Wait, did you add me? I didn't see. Oh, you can only add 20 friends. Let's give everybody battery so everybody can play. Who's ever online gets it. Seems like I'm at a high level that I reached 28. Oh wait, I can send to everybody? I thought that's limited. Let's receive also. Okay, what else am I missing? So much to handle in this game. Let's see. Do I have any? Oh wait, I do get a weapon. This one. And which? Okay. What are we gonna get? That's it? That sucks. Okay. Let's see here. Should I equip anything? It's this. Not too useful. No. Plus 50 what? Plus 50 HP. Ooh, nice. Okay. So all these pretty much sucks. Do I have any? I barely have any. What gives it the most XP? HP. When do I get this? Maybe level 30? Probably. Okay, what else can we do? Anything else we can do? Besides playing levels? Okay, just so you realize how hard it is. Here, check out how the levels are. Let me show you. Hey, look, I'm like 33 out of 80,000. Yeah, the stream is on 72060. Wait, what? Oh, it's a boss fight. Oh no, that's gonna take decades. I shouldn't have chosen that level. Hold on. Wait, no. I can't do 3 stars here anyway. Here, I'll do the one after. Just so you'll realize how hard these levels are. Wait, what? Oh god dang it. I got the... Jeez. My controller is not working because I restarted it. Oh, come on, jeez. I'm about to give up on this game. So many technical difficulties. It's ridiculous. Like, what changed? Jeez. You just need to enable and disable this in the game. I wish they just released this on consoles as a full game and that's it. Game controls for the 5th time. Okay, see, now it doesn't work. Now if I do the setting, it should work again. No, it doesn't work again. What the crap, man? Hold on. So many technical difficulties with this game. You ever have it work fine on your phone but with lag from your controller? Or you play it emulated on the computer and you have other problems. Here, gamepad connected, thank you. Link is Zelda? Who says Link is Zelda, for crying out loud? Okay, can you walk game controller? No, it's still not working. What's the flange? I don't get this. Why is this not working? Use it. Okay, disable. I don't get this. Let me try reconnecting. I don't get this. See, it doesn't want to work now. Okay. I'll give it one more go before I give up on this game completely. Wait, did he say gamepad connected? I didn't pay attention. Okay, let's hope for the best. Please walk. Okay, now it's not walking. Let's see if I change the settings like last time. Okay, geez, thank you. That only took 10 minutes. Okay, I think that's all of it. Okay, so let's freaking play a level and let me show you how hard it is. Let's do even a lower one. Even a normal, okay? Yeah, this one had alias parts. Yeah, I should do this. Yeah, like this for example. It's so freaking hard. Oh, wow, this level lags. Like what the heck? That was a bad start, obviously. It was like the worst start ever. How come they don't have a restart? Jeez. Wow, that level was laggy. Like super laggy. Wow, this level is super laggy. That sucks. Might as well play it on the phone. Tugidoo, 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 tugidoo. Oh, what the heck? Whoa, it actually hit me. Oh, these are these. Oh, come on, sniper already. Jeez, I heal and they kill me. Oh, jeez, there's no point. I might as well change. Like, these levels are super hard. I might as well go back and try that boss a few times. We'll see. Maybe somehow I'll finish it. Wait, that wasn't the level. Was it? Oh wait, it was. Oh come on, I went the other direction. Come on, I can do this. But I get like 1 health bar of just DI. Wow, 1 health bar and a half of him. Oh, he's gonna die now. Oh wow, he exploded. I can't believe it. I got 1 eye to explode. That's awesome. This is my chance, I'm telling you. Oh come on. Come on, come on. What was it like this? Jeez, him again. Oh, god dang it. Why is there lag? Jeez, there's lag everywhere with this game. Even on emulated Android, it works like crap. Ah. See, why don't you dash quickly? Jeez. Come on, I'm at 5. Jeez, he didn't even do the double jump. Come on. Ah, fucking wall again. It always lags when I do the meter dash. Like always. Oh man. I can't finish them off before, and because then it's gonna be even harder. Oh, come on. This is bullcrap. Give me eyes, give me eyes. Whew, he almost hit me. Oh, come on. Should I? Okay, let's go for it. Use my only one up. Oh, come on. See, again, why does it lag always? In that specific jump, it always lags. What? It stopped pressing right, what the crap? Come on, that's bullcrap. Jeez. Come on, I can do this. Ah. See, again. Oh, come on. Wow, I got saved from that lag. Ah, dang it. Jeez, this game is unplayable in every form. It's so stupid. Jeez, just because of lag, I'm dying. Oh god. Oh wow, he died. I can't believe it. I cannot mess it up. I cannot mess it up. I cannot mess it up. I got this. I so got this. No! You gotta be joking me. You gotta be joking me. The game lags again. How can you play this game correctly? It always lags. Jeez, I was so close in beating him. Jeez Louise. Okay, until further notice, I give up on this game. Until I find a way to play it lagless. Like, it's so stupid. Jeez Louise. Okay. We're gonna end the stream in this rage. Okay, so until I find a way to play this game with no freaking input lag, I'll give up on it. Which kinda sucks because I'm actually enjoying it. And maybe when I find a way, or they fix the game, I'll do an actual normal live stream. So thanks everybody who joined, and I'll see you next time, dear viewers. Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye.